Hi, my name's Kevin Harrington, and we're going to be building a robot puppet. Made in Worcester. Filmed in a makerspace, there's background noise. Today we're going to be building an animatronic puppet for the Hanover Theater. Needless to say, it's going to be a large, wearable animatronic. It's going to have articulated fingers, an articulated head and neck, and the entire thing is going to be mounted to a backpack so that our bodysuit actor can carry around this creature and perform it live during a stage production. So let's dive right in. Start off with, we're going to go over some of the parts that are going to be in this creature. The pieces laid out on this table are about enough to make one of the creatures, and we're going to get through making two of them over the course of this week. The creature consists of 2 robot arms per creature, a pair of hand extensions with fingers, and the frame backpack that everything gets mounted to make it so that the profile of the person carrying the creature is not represented in the final product. So we start off with 3D printed pieces. These were designed in Bowler Studio, and the design is a parametric design, meaning that we can change the gear ratio, we can change the link lengths very quickly, very easily, based on the general design for the robot arm that we're working with. The pieces for attaching everything together are M5 nuts and bolts, an R8 bearing, a standard hobby servo. The hands are going to be laser cut almost entirely. There will be a few nuts and bolts in the hands, and fishing line and some brake cable to connect up the pieces. So the bearings here snap fit into the printed pieces, and the gears snap into that.
You make a short fidget spinner.
Fidget my ass, this thing's a robot. Let's go ahead and build the arm, because that's probably the first thing that we can do while we got everything here without doing any more design. The reason these are 2 pieces is so it can be printed with a shaft coming off this way and a shaft coming off this way, and it's bolted together in the middle. But the other neat trick for the academic arm is to put a load cell there to separate the 2 sides so they can move freely, with the load cell detecting the amount of force on the arm. But this application doesn't need that. I'm not spending the money for the load cells just to bolt the pieces together. Gears and motors are on yet. Next step is going to be attaching the servos. So the servos have a piece of plastic, which is the horn here. This comes with the servo. This gets printed. These pieces go together like that. This now mounts to the servo, but before we mount this, we need to know where the servo's 0 point is going to be. So when it's in the middle, we want the arm to be in this configuration here. So in order to do that, we're going to need the electronics next. So we'll start with an Arduino Teensy 3.5. I'm going to break out some pins for us. So let's move to the soldering station. Okay. So here's the soldering. 10 points for anyone who understands that reference. We're going to set up a motherboard. Nothing happened. What are you even talking about? It happened. Alright, so for the general layout, we're going to have Teensy on the breakout. I got these socket headers, so we're going to use socket headers to actually plug the Teensy in, because things happen and you always want to be ready for that. Then we have boards with a ribbon cable coming off of them. So these are the breakout boards for the encoders, and we're going to have a ribbon cable connector for the SPI bus and the servo pins, and a servo pin connector, which will sit on the breakout board. And there'll be 3 breakout boards connected on the same bus, so they'll all share the power and ground, they'll all share the SPI pins, and they'll have their own servo pin for each board, as well as slave select for each of the encoders. So if we want to count out our pins, we have SPI, power, ground, MISO, MOSI, SPI clock, slave select 1, slave select 2, slave select 3 for each motor, since it's going through the cable. We also need servo 1, servo 2, servo 3, so we're at 11. Servos are going to want to have their own power and ground. 12, 13, which means we need at least a 13 position cable. And I fortunately have this lovely 14 position ribbon cable, though it is not color coded, which is fine because we have crimp on connectors to go with it. This is why I always overbuy parts for projects, in case I end up using them in another project. So these are connectors left over from a certain servo stock. 10 points for anyone who knows that reference. No, 20 points for anyone who knows that reference. So next up, we're going to make sure we have enough pins to do the headers and connectors on the other side. So it's a set of 8 pins. We need 3 of those. And then a set of 3 pins for a servo. 1, 2, 3. I also want to pull off these headers, because that side is the side that's bolted down onto a nice flat surface. So we don't want those headers. Okay, I'm going to want a connector over here, and not the first pin. Now we're cooking. Time to get the robot. Now we have a header that plugs in, and daughter card connectors to hang. Now, we're going to do some continuity checks on the cable. Make sure we have connections. Now, I can assume that if I use a pin here, it's going to be the same as the pin over here. Which is a cool assumption to be able to make, because now I can just work on this board, put this on the side, and the long cables come in the form of the ribbon cable. So you don't have to get messy. All of them go. So, end of day one, we have a robot arm, the moving arm. This is the servo arm. We have a ribbon cable soldered up for the arm. And we have a breakout board ready to take another ribbon cable. Breakout board's been soldered up, and all the servos have been tested working. We're in good shape moving into day two.